John 14:28. You have heard me say to you, I am going away and coming back. If you loved me, you would rejoice because I said I am going to the Father. It's a very subtle hint right in there. If you loved me. Oh, what does it mean if you loved me? Does it mean that the disciples did not love Jesus? So here's what he's trying to say. If your focus was on me more than yourselves, if you would think about all those nice things I've told you about my Father, and if you would think about me, who has been despised more than you, who has been ridiculed more than you, who has passed through all these things more than you, then you wouldn't be troubled. Because I'm telling you, I'm going to see my Father, a Father that I love. He's telling them to take the focus off of themselves and be happy for him, because he's going to be reunited with his Father. Difficult situations such as this one that the disciples were going through have a way of revealing what's in our hearts. Sometimes financial difficulties, sometimes relationship difficulties. Sometimes they're just work-related. Yet we all have everything that we need to overcome within us. But we also have something within us that keeps pulling us back. So what is it? What's this that keeps pulling us back? What's at the root of it? What's the main frame? What's the driving force? So why do we react the way we react when situations come, when difficult times come? Why do we get so annoyed when our workmates forget to say hi in the morning, so you're pissed the whole day? Why? Why do we get so hurt when someone decides to ignore us? Why is it an issue if I sit next to you and I don't say hi to you? What's so important? What's that within us that makes it so important that people have to recognize you? Why do we become so bitter, so annoyed, so angry? Why do we become so hurt? Why is it an issue if your spouse didn't take you out for Valentine's? Let's turn to Proverbs 13:10. It would be good for you guys to turn there so that it's you actually reading it from the Bible. And some of us don't let the Bible get in. Contention is basically just disagreement and discord. In the same version, 17:14, Proverbs, says the beginning of strife is like releasing water. Stop contention before it becomes strife. So if we put that together, or most of the times you read other versions, they just say only by pride comes strife. And what is strife? It's being bitter, it's being angry, it's being in discord, it's quarreling. So only by pride comes strife. It would have been difficult to say those words if you guys didn't read them for yourselves. One would have said that I made it up. It says only. So in Hebrew, that term only, if you do your nice research, it means only. There is no other way. It's not the leading cause. It's not one of the 10 major ways. It's not all those nice things we write. It's the only way. It's the only way. Only by pride comes what you feel. All that contention. There's no other way to get into strife other than by pride. And pride here in its simplest form, in its simplest form, P-R-I-D-E, it's just I in the middle. It's just me. It's nothing else, just me. It's me in my monologue. It's you thinking about, why didn't I say hi to you? The only way we react in the manner in which we react is because we're always thinking about ourselves. The only reason those disciples were going to get into grief is because they were only thinking about themselves. It was all about them, what would happen to them. And it's the same thing here. The only reason we react in the same manner we react in every other situation is because it's just us. It's just our proud nature. We decide to get angry at so and so because they cut us in traffic. So someone gets right ahead of you in traffic and brakes, and your day that day is terrible. How could someone do that to me? Why not just pray for that guy and you ask God, now, what's happening with this gentleman? Is he having a medical emergency? Did he have a bad day at home? And we take the focus off of you. It won't bother you. Someone talked badly to us when they sat next to us. They bought roses instead of lilies. I mean, the thing that makes us annoyed, the reason we feel so hurt, bitter, and annoyed, the reason we get into bad moods has nothing to do with the other person. Has nothing to do with them. It's just you. I'm not refuting the other guy did something. And for sure, if you expect to go on with your life expecting that you're going to get joy from someone else until everyone treats you right, that's when things are going to work out for you. You're going to have a terrible time. You will not find everyone treating you the same way through and through. But let your heart not be troubled. We are alive to ourselves so much. And that's why everything bothers us. Take a child, take a 2-year-old child, and you're in the supermarket and the child wants an Oreo. And as parents, it's our responsibility everyone is born selfish. It doesn't matter if your mom has been laboring for 12 hours and you want to breastfeed, it doesn't matter. That kid will cry the whole night. So everyone is born selfish. I was saying, take a child in a supermarket who's 2 years old. Yeah, that's the nice things that we like to say terrible twos. And they want something. They want an Oreo. They want a sweet. They want some juice. What will they do? That kid will lie on the floor, cry, do all those nasty things. And most of us as parents, what we tend to do is buy that item they want. Yeah? No? Not quite, eh? You will not reward that kid, eh? And the few of us who tend to do that, we are not thinking about that kid. Havana, it's me thinking, what are people going to think about me? It's nothing to do with the kid, yeah? What are people going to think about me? People are going to think I'm a bad parent. People are going to think my kid is spoiled. So you pick that Ribena. My kids love Ribena, so let me just use Ribena. So you pick that Ribena and you buy it for them. And what you've just done is you've rewarded self. So next time, that kid will just know all I need to do is cry, throw a tantrum, do it a bit harder, and I'll get what I want. And it's the same thing for us. When you get to a point where we're always rewarding self, so we're never resisting. So someone cuts you in traffic and you're in a bad mood that whole day. You're communicating the exact same message to yourself that it doesn't matter. I can react in any manner that I want to. So we are just adult 2-year-olds or adult toddlers behaving sort of the same way. And pride is not just arrogance. That's the thing we thought, that pride is just that guy who walks with their heads held high and talks down at people and, puts you down. But every stick has two ends. Yeah? Every stick has two ends. My nice, I was convinced to take a personality test. I have refused to take those things for like 30 years, and somehow I was convinced to take a personality test. So I was categorized as this explorer, confident individualism, 64% introverted, 50-something% thinking, 0% emotion. Explains a bit of how I am. So that's why my monologue was, what shall I wear? What will you guys think about me? It wasn't how I will feel. I don't connect in that point. I get the individualism part. Confident, I'll still have to figure it out. I'm comfortable in spaces where, it's people I know. Not all of you, just maybe 2 or 3 people I know. You're too many. So I don't like standing in front of people. I'm very comfortable sitting behind a computer and speaking in Bible study. I don't even want my kids around me or my wife around me. I want them to, you guys just stay away. Let me do my own thing. If you did not know me, if you were to find me in a different situation, I'm those guys you would say, that guy is a snob. I don't let that lie to you. We people who appear very humble are the worst kind of proud human beings. It's just another manifestation of pride. Shy, timid people with low self-esteem. These guys are worse than the arrogant. We are super proud people. You want to know how this goes? We want to know what goes through my mind when I'm sitting at my corner. If I walk up to you, what am I going to say? How will I appear? What will you think of me? If I say the wrong thing, how will our next conversation be? What if you don't like me? What if I'm not the kind of person you have thought me to be? We appear to be very humble people, but at the core we're just proud people. And remember, pride at its root it's nothing but self-centeredness. just thinking about ourselves. And God could have done something spectacular. And God would have worked something fantastic. God would have done a miracle in your life. But the nice guys who sit in the corner, if that mic is passed around by Alice, they will not pick it up. And they're not picking it up because it's not that God hasn't done something. And they know, and we know for sure that God has done something in our lives. But I am not prepared. I'm not prepared to speak. I did not dress to speak to people. I do not have my words together. I will stumble in my words. I will swallow my words. And at that point, we are not thinking about how that testimony would bless someone. We're not thinking about how what I have within me would be a similar situation that someone is going through, and I want to speak it out that it blesses you. We're just thinking about me. Life is always about me. So at one end, pride is just arrogance. At the other end, it's just shy, timid, low self-esteem. And sadly, the society will tell you that's how you are, that's who you are. And they write books, and they will pay some guy 20,000 shillings, and they'll tell you, this is just your personality. You can't change who you are. But, that's what's true humility, though? What is it? What do you think it is? I had a story once that some guys decided to take a vote, and they voted someone in their church, and that was the most humble person in that church. So the next Sunday he walks up, nicely smiling, with a big badge. They had a big badge written humble. And he steps up, they give it to him, and he puts it on his upper hivi. And the moment he picks it up, they take it away from him. There's no way you can be humble and accept such a thing, eh? Numbers 12:3. Numbers 12. Let's just start at Numbers 12, chapter 1. Verse 1, sorry. So Moses marries an Ethiopian woman. By the way, Ethiopians are black, just so you know. Ethiopians are black. Sometimes we read these things and they just shoof. Zinatuondokea. Ethiopians are black, and Moses was Jew, eh? He was that nice color, Arabian colors. So Miriam and Aaron decide, how dare you? How are you going to marry a black person? And interracial marriages are not a thing. So they decide to speak against him. And basically, this marriage outside of faith wasn't something that was allowed in Israel. And they are simply saying, how is it that just God speaks through you? If God is just speaking through you, how comes you're marrying the black woman? Is it true that God is just speaking through you? So they're trying to elevate themselves to a point above Moses. And Moses decides, you know what, I will say nothing. Of course, they are struck with leprosy, if you read Hapo Mbele. But Moses intervenes for them, and it's cleared after, I think, 7 days or so. Anyway, that's not it. Let's read verse 3. So now the man Moses was meek above all men upon the face of the earth. So Moses was the meekest person on earth. How many people do you suppose were on earth at around that time? say he led, say, 3 million out of Israel, out of Egypt, and the Egyptians were more, so maybe double that. And then there are all those other guys in Canaan, and all those Hittites, Canaanites, and all those other Hittite, and then there were Ethiopians. Of course, if he married an Ethiopian, there were Ethiopians. Maybe there were Kenyans, who knows? But say there were 20 million, rough estimate. And Moses says he was the meekest man on the face of the earth. So in 20 million, I am the most humble person. Guess who wrote those words? Moses wrote those words. So Moses says, you know what? I am the most humble person in this planet. And then he writes it down in the Bible for everyone to read. Not just you guys, but they used to read the Torah. They used to read the 5 words. So when they went through that, and maybe he's alive at that point, they actually used to read. Moses was the meekest person on the face of the earth. Imagine if he had said, there's no way I'm going to write that about myself. How? How is that possible? What will the Israelites say about me? So do you think he would have been the most humble man on earth if he decided, I'm not going to write that? No. No. Humility is just saying, it's just having no opinion about yourself. And if God says you're the most humble person, you're the most humble person. It's not going above what God says, and it's not going below what God says either. We have been taught severally. We've been taught that humility is speaking lowly of yourself. It's putting yourself down. And so me and my fantastic voice will walk up to this stage, and I've been singing in these choirs, fantastic choirs, in grand stages. And I will say some nice things. I've been singing from the time I was 10. Now I am 40. What I'll say? Oh, you guys don't listen to the voice. Don't listen to this voice, but the Bible says make a joyful noise. And when that person starts to sing, you wonder, hey, what's happening? You know what you should do? 3 days down the line, go walk up to that person and tell them you have a terrible voice, and see how they feel. You go, just do it. It's not wrong to acknowledge that you have a gift. If God has gifted you with something, that's what he has gifted you with. Imagine if the donkey that was carrying Jesus, and then they are laying down those nice things that they were laying down on the path. It wouldn't have been the first time a donkey spoke, yeah? It would have been the second time. And then the donkey says, it's not me, it's Jesus. It's the one I'm carrying. Everyone is looking at them at like, why do you think it's you that we are saying Hosanna to? It's sort of the same thing. It's a religious con. It's a backhanded way of getting a compliment. It's a way of me getting me to come to you and say, hey, You have a very good voice. It's just a backhanded way of getting a compliment. So I'm telling you, walk up to that person somewhere, not here, just outside there, and tell them, your voice is terrible. Guys, humility is just, it's having no opinion of yourself. So if God wakes up one day and says you're the most humble person, it's humility to write down you're the most humble person. It's actually proud if you don't write it down. Because remember, pride is just you thinking about you and you doing what you want. Truly humble people are just people who consider God's opinion of them. And if God says, you're the most generous person in this congregation, you are. If God says you're the righteousness of God, I mean, who are you to say no? Who are you to say I am not? It's just that we think everything is about us. Paul says you need to be dead to yourself. It's sort of like a dead cow. If you're in your backyard somewhere back in Shags, and you find one of these, and you just approach that dead cow, and you hit that dead cow, just hit it, and then you're like, "Apana, let me just take a kiboko and then just hit it." It's not reacting. Then you decide, you know what, I'm going to spit on it. And you wonder, what is wrong with this cow? It's happening. And you decide, I'm going to insult it. And you think about anything you can say and just call it all those things you can call it. It's still not reacting. So the dead cow is not pouting. The dead cow is not getting into a bad mood. The dead cow is not giving you silent treatment. The dead cow is not getting annoyed. His dead cow is not getting hurt. You want to guess why? It's dead. And if you're not alive to yourself, you as a person, if you're not alive to yourself, if all you think about is other people's welfare, and all you think about is Jesus at the center, you'll be exactly like that dead cow. I am saying things that are almost impossible to do on a daily basis. And I know. It's not that I don't know. I react the same way as everyone else. And if you insult me, I will think now, what's a better insult? If you kick me, I'll think now, man, I just brushed those shoes. And then kitu itatoka tu, you know. But I'm like a learner driver, you know. I'm like, when one is learning how to drive or ride a bike or get into a motorcycle, first thing you do is you see a corner and then you make a hard turn. Then the car goes all the way, and then you make another hard turn, the car goes all the way. So you're always veering off where you're supposed to be going. So if this is the route you're supposed to be taking and you take your corner, you find yourself all the way with a hard right or all the way with a hard left. And the nice lady or the nice gentleman in the car is always making a course correction. And then they're just like, okay, no, not that, just like this and like this. Or if you're the dad or the mom trying to teach your kid how to ride a bike, you're always, okay, just bits and bits and bits. It's sort of the same day when we are dealing with ourselves each and every day. Every moment is an opportunity for a course correction. So if someone steps on my well-polished shoe, chance for a course correction. So instead of me reacting, I'll think, hey, what's happening to them? Why are they in such a hurry? And maybe they're late. If you're going to church and your spouse is taking 10 hours in the shower, time for a course correction. So you start thinking, maybe the water pressure is not too good. Maybe it's not hot enough. Course correction, eh? Maybe the soap is not lathering nicely enough. Maybe you need to change the soap. If you're getting to church late every time, then again, instead of you getting annoyed that you're coming in late, it's time for a course correction. Maybe you need to help a bit more in the house. Maybe you need to wake up a bit earlier. Maybe you need to make the tea. Maybe you need to prepare the child. So if the boss at work shouts at you, again, course correction. Instead of you reacting, you just pray for them and go, Father, I hope his family is okay. Maybe something is happening back at home. So if the focus is taken off us and we decide to die, and things don't bother us that much. But you can't do that devoid of Christ. Yeah? And on the cross, as Jesus was being crucified, he says, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing, as in, even at the height of his pain, even at the height of his suffering, his focus is not on him, it's still on us. Sometimes we say Jesus is too highly placed an example because we want to believe that at that point Jesus was God. Yet he was fully man. So then Stephen comes in the picture and he did the exact same thing, and he wasn't a disciple for 3 years or whatever time you want to believe. And he says, do not put the sin in their account. So it's sort of saying the same thing. He's still thinking of the guys who are stoning him more than he's thinking about himself. And this self-business has been there from the time of Adam and Eve. As in, when the serpent is speaking to them, he's saying, you know what? Why don't you eat that fruit and become like God? It's very subtle. It's just saying, why don't you look unto yourself and you become as important as God? And you take your focus off of God and you put your focus back on yourself. And you shall become like God. And Christ dies for that. Sin gives us a point to make a course correction every day. And Romans 12:1 talks about you being a living sacrifice. The thing with living sacrifices is they are living. So you get on the altar and you jump off. You get on the altar and you crawl off. You get on the altar and you don't want to stay there. Yeah? So you're always finding a way to get off. But again, course correction.